Can you tell me about you and your business, please?
Yes. So my name is Jane Murray, and I am the founder and CEO of a company called Peacebeam. And we make guided meditations and all kinds of audio products for mindfulness, kindfulness, and well-being.
What are the biggest challenges you've had to overcome when it comes to funding so far?
I think the biggest challenge that we have faced is a kind of an internal discomfort with the traditional models of fundraising and investing in companies. I'm a lawyer and a VC by background, so I was very familiar on the other side of the table about what that kind of more extractive model of investing looked like. And so because I was very familiar with that, we were very loath to look at fundraising, which meant obviously that our growth was kind of slow and much more organic. There is some virtue to that, but I think it was probably, it was my understanding and kind of, sort of experience of being an investor that made looking for funding for us, we were slow to do it.
What made you want to join the funding school?
Well, I think it was coming from a VC background with probably a fairly narrow understanding of what was possible in terms of funding that really attracted me to it, because it was, I'd heard, you hear people talking about alternative models and alternative ideas and different kinds of capital, and I was very interested in multiple forms of capital as a concept, but I hadn't actually seen any of that translated into something that was practical and pragmatic for people who are actually looking for funding. So it was a real curiosity about that.
What did you change about your funding plan or ideas around funding after joining the funding school?
Well, I think firstly, it was kind of a revelation to understand that there were so many different possibilities around funding. Again, coming from that very narrow lens of, there's only one route to raising money. And so we started to look, particularly in relation to Kinder Pay, which has kind of taken on a life of its own. It was an idea that was within Peacebeam and now has become or is becoming something external to it. So it gave us the opportunity to really consider grant funding in particular, which would have been something I would never have considered previously. And so we've been working with Kinder Pay around grant funding, particularly kind of crypto grant funding, and that was a direct result actually of attending the funding school, because I would never have thought about that avenue previously.
Can you think of one thing that you learned that really changed the way you thought about funding?
I don't think I can say it was one thing. I think it was the whole experience and the way that the course was run, so that everything was built on from 1 week to the next, where you suddenly had a kind of a 360 understanding of the funding landscape. And that completely changed my thinking about the implications of bringing investment into a company that is fundamentally kind of, quite heart-based, would not fit in some of the traditional models. We weren't looking to scale rapidly, for example. So I think I couldn't say that it was one particular thing. It was that kind of whole presentation of the 360 landscape and the understanding that there is room for all, or there is possibility for all different kinds of startups, that you don't have to fall into the traditional understanding of what we would mean by a startup in order to raise money. And so that was quite revelatory, I think.